Hi, I'm Brenda Durchie. I love to organize. I know I'm a bit weird, but I just thoroughly enjoy organizing. I like seeing space become functional and effective. And we hear a lot about decluttering these days, and that's important. Boy, I totally agree with the decluttering. Sometimes we collect so much stuff that we almost get pushed out of our own houses by the stuff that we collect. But that's a good thing to do. But I want to talk to you about what to do after that. After you've decluttered, let's go beyond decluttering and get organized. We all wish we had more time. I don't know anybody that doesn't say they wish they had more time. But we don't. We're all stuck with the same 24 hours. We can waste our time, we can squander it, or we can save it. But we're all given the same amount of time. And I want you to think about your drive to work. Do you take the quickest route possible to get to work? Or do you meander around town a while before you get there? Well, I think that's kind of a silly question. I would imagine most people take the fastest route they can get to work. But have you ever thought about that principle in your home? What about in your kitchen? Do you meander all around the kitchen or dash around the kitchen, getting this and that and the other? Or do you take the quickest route? Have you thought about what is the quickest route? How can you make it shorter? Workflow in the kitchen and work centers are all about making the flow of your work go quicker and easier. And I don't know if you've even heard the term work centers. There's kind of three main work centers that people talk about. It's the preparation center, which takes a bit of counter space, your sink center or cleaning center, and your food storage center, your fridge and where you store your other consumable products. Anyway, have to look at my notes and I can't hardly read them. They're too small to remind me what I wanted to tell you about. But with the work centers, well, let's talk about the cleaning center or sink center first. Just because you probably, most all of you have that in good order already. It's just kind of logical that you store your dish soap near your sink and you store your dish drain under your sink and your dishwasher is beside the sink. All those things are pretty logical and most people do that. I don't know anybody that would put their dish soap in their pantry clean across the room somewhere. You just don't do that. But so you're doing that already. But do you think that idea could work in other areas? And what else do you do by the sink? One of the things that happens by the sink most of the time is cleaning your fruits and vegetables or cutting them up. So do you have cutting boards and knives near the sink? And maybe a garbage can to put the peelings in. All of those things are things to consider so that what you're doing is wherever you have to do the work, your stuff that you want for that work is nearby. Your cutting board and knife isn't over in the pantry or wherever. It's close to the sink. And then for your preparation center, like I mentioned, that needs some counter space. But what else needs to be in your preparation center? You've got mixing bowls and measuring spoons and measuring cups and flour and sugar and salt and pepper, spices, baking powder, whatever it is that you use needs to be stored in your preparation center. And of course you need the tools as well as the consumable food that gets used all the time. When I first moved into my mother-in-law's home, we're inheriting it, and she was still working in the kitchen, and so I had to use the kitchen the way she had it set up. And it worked good for her, and that's great. But boy, for me, there were things, that should be over here, and that would work better over here. I was quite excited when I was able to move the spices my stove's here, my mixing center and preparation center is over here. But the spices were all on the other side of the stove. And so for me, that was just not where they belonged. And I'm sure it worked good for her. But anyway, I moved all those over into my mixing center. And so when they were there, my mixing spoons are in the drawer right, or my measuring spoons are in the drawer right here. The mixing bowls were here. I pull it down and fix whatever I'm making. So the spices come off of the rack, measuring spoon comes out of the drawer, I put it in the bowl, and I can put the spice right back. It's just quick. You don't leave it out because it's got to go somewhere else. You use it and put it right back. And that's the whole principle with having the work centers work for you. You put the things that you use where you use them. One of the other experiences that I had in this kitchen as I was beginning to use it and as things changed later, when I made a fruit smoothie, my blender was, well, this isn't my mixing center now. I'm pointing in front of me because that's how I'm thinking. But on the other side of the room, I had the blender and microwave was there and the fridge was right next to it. So when I wanted to make a fruit smoothie, to begin with, when my mother-in-law was still using the kitchen, I'd go over here and get my knife and my cutting board and I'd bring it over by the blender. And I'd possibly my fruit would be on the other side of the stove over here. And I'd bring it. Sometimes it's in the fridge, so it's right close. And then I had nutrition supplements that I added to it, some flax and some other stuff. Anyway, that was in a cupboard back this way. Well, when things got rearranged, instead of going over here and over there and oh, and then I had to get a rubber scraper too. When I get done with the fruit smoothie and I'm putting it in the glasses, then I needed a rubber scraper from over here. But when I got done rearranging the kitchen, I stood in the same place and took one step sideways. That was it. Everything I needed to make a fruit smoothie was right there beside me or in front of me. The fruit came out of the fridge. Cutting boards and knives were still over by the sink, but I made fruit smoothies like every day. And so I had a small cutting board that I used for that, and I didn't use it for much of the other food prep. So that now has a spot in my cupboard up here. It's just real easy to grab it, put it down there, use for cutting. And I took a drawer here. She had two drawers, each one full of dish towels and one full of dish rags. And to me, I needed the space more, so I cut that down a whole lot and put all the dish towels and all the dish rags in one drawer. And then I had the other drawer where I put that knife that I used for making fruit smoothies. I put the 1/8 of a cup measuring cup extra. I have another one over there in the mixing center, but I have one right here where my fruit smoothie is, and just everything to make my smoothie is right there, and the glasses. So when I get done making the fruit smoothie, mix it, putting it in the blender, stick it over here, put it in the blender, turn it on, take it out, pull a glass down from here. It's all right there, and my rubber scraper is in that drawer right there as well. And so it just makes everything go smooth. And I did the same with sandwiches. They don't need to be over in my main mixing center because I got space here for bread and peanut butter and honey and jam in this cupboard, and the cheese and meat, mayonnaise is all right here in the fridge. And so I have a knife in this drawer to spread the mayonnaise with. Actually I don't. I just realized tonight that I didn't have that and should have. So that will be a change I make right now. And so sandwich making all goes here. And the plates are right there. To pull the plates down to put the sandwich on. And so you find where you want to do things and have all the stuff you need to do that job close to where you're working instead of going back and forth to this part of the kitchen or that part of the kitchen or wherever. You center things in the same area. And although one of the areas they talk about is the food storage area, that isn't, builders would build it so that it's all in the same place. And they imagine all your food stored right beside your fridge or whatever. And some of that can be true, but it can be in other places as well. Like your food that you're going to use for snacks or cold cereals, things like that. That can be set off and not so close to your mixing center. But you need the food in your mixing center that you put in things while you're preparing food. What else did I want to... Anyway, that's what I have to say today about work centers, and we'll talk a little bit more about workflow and how to organize some of your things in those work centers, how to put things in the cupboards to save the most space or give you more space where you don't have enough. We'll talk about some of those things next time. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.